Well, this ought to be interesting. Tonight we have two special guests. First, our current Commander-in-Chief, Barack Obama, who will be discussing his income tax policy. And, to help interpret, we have Mr. Spock, of Star Trek fame. Welcome to both of you.
Greetings.
Good evening. Now, I thought I had requested my press secretary Jay Carney to help with this discussion.
He was busy, but we found the perfect replacement. So tell us, Mr. President, what is your beef with the upper and middle class Americans not paying enough taxes? You keep going on and on and on about our tax structure not being fair.
The top earning households, those making over $250,000, should pay more income taxes. It is not fair.
President Obama, your concept of fair is totally illogical. The term fair means legitimate, in accordance with rules, all without cheating. Are you implying that all of these taxpayers are somehow cheating?
No, Mr. Spock, I am not saying that they cheat, just that they do not pay enough taxes. The expenses of the country are exploding, so they need to pay more. They need to pay their fair share, that is what I mean.
Fascinating. That is a different issue. A fair share means that the upper and middle class are receiving more in benefits from the government than they pay for with their income taxes. However, it is undisputed that the people making over $250,000, or about the top 3% of taxpayers, already pay close to 50% of all income taxes. So roughly 3 million US citizens pay half of the national defense, bloated government agencies, education, politician and federal employee salaries and benefits, interest, foreign aid and more. Meanwhile, about 50% of American taxpayers, or over 65 million people, pay no income tax at all, yet most enjoy enormous amounts of government benefits. The facts suggest the upper and middle class already pay way more than their fair share for all these government costs.
I do not care about the facts. It is not fair, I tell you. The richest people and corporations need to pay more to help fund Obamacare and all of the other government grants and programs we keep dreaming up. This helps level the playing field for everyone.
Again I say, your argument is not based in logic. How much blood can you hope to get from these turnips before they leave the country? It is illogical to ask only a small portion of Americans to pay for more and more and more and more programs or causes they cannot control. That sounds like an injustice to those citizens and therefore not fair.
Who in the hell are you to tell me what is fair?
I am what I am, Mr. President, and if there are self-made purgatories, then we all have to live with them. It is undisputed that the United States already has the most progressive income tax system in the civilized world, more extreme than all the socialized countries. Does it seem fair to you that those middle and upper class citizens basically have to cover any new program the government decides it wants, even if they derive no new benefit?
Well, Mr. President, he has you there. Why should only a few pay for every government cost overrun, luxurious public employee pensions and lavish benefits, or new pork project?
You too? I am surprised at you. I thought you were a loyal liberal mouthpiece. How dare you question things I say, no matter how stupid they are? Look, Warren Buffett says that his tax rate is lower than his secretary. He needs to pay his fair share.
President Obama, this is a totally illogical argument. Why, when the imorgs of Sigma Draconis 6 stole my brain, I still had enough sense to see through the fallacy of this argument. Warren Buffett still pays millions of actual dollars in taxes each year, far more in income tax dollars than all the secretaries in America combined. You are playing games with selective figures to distort reality and cause anger in the American people with words like unfair. You are just piling on the very people who have taken risks, built businesses, and helped make this country #1 on earth in order to pay for your runaway government spending and socialistic programs. You are destroying their motivation to work hard, take risks, invest in America or even stay in this country.
Spock, we have many government programs that need funding and the money has to come from somewhere. The richest Americans and our corporations have the ability to pay, so they should pay for anything we politicians decide is worthwhile.
Mr. Spock, How do you respond to that?
Fascinating. I have never understood the Democratic Party capacity to avoid a direct answer to a question. The US government is like tribals. It will continue to grow and multiply, gorging on everything in its path and growing enormous, if there are no controls. Your Federal Reserve's ability to print money when you don't have enough income tax receipts is not only illogical, it is reckless. If you could not do that, the American citizens would start a revolution and demand smaller government and less spending. Your American Tea Party has already started this.
Mr. Spock, over 50% of Americans are currently receiving some sort of government aid. With Obamacare, these numbers are likely to mushroom much higher. We must have these programs to keep the American citizens dependent on the government.
President Obama, after a time you may find that having is not so pleasing a thing, after all, as wanting. It is not logical, but it is often true.
Spock, don't try to trick me with your Vulcan logic. I have plans for America in my second term to punish, deal with these successful American businesses and middle-class citizens. Redistributing their wealth through the government to fund programs and entitlements for the Democratic Party base is fair and keeps us in power.
It appears your illogical approach to taxes does have its advantages, Mr. President. And who decides how much is enough income tax? Yourself? Jobden.
Layla. I can't hear you, Spock.
It seems that we have is a failure to communicate clearly the ideas of why you, President Obama, think the taxes already paid by the middle and upper class are not fair. Fortunately, Mr. Spock has a little trick he can use to understand your thought process and perhaps interpret it for us. It is called the Vulcan mind meld.
Yes, it is painless. I will join with your mind, absorb your thoughts and then share them with the American people in a way that they can understand. It is quite easy and painless.
Hell no. No one is going to find out what is inside my head. I mean, that might be dangerous, you know. National security. Yeah, that's it. National security.
Is there something in your thoughts that you do not want the American people to know, President Obama? Something in your past, perhaps?
No, it is just that. Look, Spock, we need at least an extra $1 trillion in taxes annually to cover all the spending that we are doing.
Your illogical tax plan would only make a tiny dent in the huge spending deficit, not even 2 weeks of overspending, and does not solve your $16 trillion debt nightmare. Your tax solution does not fix the problem, just inflames and divides the people.
It is enough to get me and my Democratic Party cronies re-elected. Most of America is too financially illiterate to see what all of our excess spending and promises has done to our future. My disgraceful liberal mainstream media have helped me cover up the true extent of the problem. I am sure a future president will come up with a fiscally responsible way to address the outrageous debt. I'll be long gone by then.
So, it is all about getting yourself and your party re-elected, at the cost of deceit and lies to the American people. Mr. President, a good friend once told me, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one.
Look, this discussion about taxes is over. Next time I will have David Axelrod come with me to interpret what I mean. It would be way less stressful.
Could Spock mind meld with David Axelrod instead? I mean, you once used the technique on that slithering rock creature on Janus 6, right?
Yes, however that creature had logic and intelligence, and was better looking.
Well, President Obama, you seem flustered by our discussion tonight. Are there any facts mentioned tonight that are wrong? What do you think of Mr. Spock's help tonight?
As you know, taxes is a tough subject. I try not to discuss facts as they just confuse people. I am used to only getting questions from our disgraceful mainstream media who share my beliefs and do not question if they make sense. Besides, I never really was a Star Trek fan.
If I were human, I believe my response would be, go to hell, if I were human. Live long and prosper. Mr. Scott, there is no intelligent life forms here. Please beam me up.
Holy cow, I need to use the trick in my next meeting with Nancy Pelosi.